Is it possible that today's event was an attempt on Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s life? For many of his supporters, it certainly seemed like it when police responded to a distress call about a man claiming to be a member of the presidential candidate's security team and brandishing a fake marshal badge and 2 loaded pistols outside the campaign headquarters. The Wilshire Abel Theater, where Kennedy conducted his campaign event, is just a short distance from the site where his father, former U.S. Senator Robert F. Kennedy, was shot and killed on June 5, 1968. Before we see the footage of the assailant's capture by police, he posted on X, quote, "I'm very grateful that alert and fast-acting protectors from Gavin DeBecker and Associates, GDBA, spotted and detained an armed man who attempted to approach me at my Hispanic Heritage speech at the Wilshire Ebel Theater in Los Angeles tonight. The man, wearing 2 shoulder holsters with loaded pistols and spare ammunition magazines, was carrying a U.S. Marshal badge on a lanyard and belt clip federal ID. He identified himself as a member of my security detail. Armed GDBA team members moved quickly to isolate and detain the man until LAPD arrived to make the arrest. I'm also grateful to LAPD for its rapid response. I'm still entertaining a hope that President Biden will allow me Secret Service protection. I am the first presidential candidate in history to whom the White House has denied a request for protection. Here's the video of the assailant's arrest."
Officer, we have a bomb dog. You want to just take a look at that bag really quick before you guys get into it? Yeah, okay, we'll wait. Hey, Will, find out how long until Doug. Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
Hey, everybody, I'm here with my friend Ed Dowd to get an update on the Maui situation. And this will be published on my Substack. Ed, are you okay? Is your family okay?
Yeah, my family's okay. A lot of my friends are okay, but I did have friends that lost their homes. And Lahaina is an unmitigated disaster. The old Lahaina town has been burnt to ashes and the foundation.
And how, we hear that as many as 100 people have died, but you told me earlier that the number may be actually much worse than that.
Yeah, so the reported number is 96 as of today. Started off at 6 and it's crept up from multiple sources on the island, first responders. The whisper number is 500 to 1,000. And unfortunately, there's also word coming out, a lot of them were children, primarily because schools were canceled in the morning due to the high winds from Hurricane Dora. And a lot of parents, both parents work and were not at home when the fire hit. There was no warning, unfortunately, about the fire, no alerts, no sirens went off, and no notifications went out to phones to evacuate. Most of my friends that did leave didn't even know there was a fire until they smelled the smoke, opened their door, and they saw the fire. That's how bad it was.
And what do you, first of all, our hearts and prayers go out to all of you and to all of those families who lost their homes, and more importantly, the families who lost loved ones. And it's just heartbreaking to think that there may be so many children who were victims of this fire. Why did it happen? And was there a government failure? We hear more and more about the relationship to the closure of the big agricultural interest in the island and the way that they handled the closure of the sugarcane fields. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, several years ago, the sugarcane company sold the land to a Canadian private equity firm, and a lot of the land was left fallow, and a lot of the sugarcane died and was dry tinder. And there was a fire here on Maui about 3 or 4 years ago that burned the valley, and it was arson that started it. I know that for a fact because my friend saw the car that was on fire in the middle of the sugarcane fields, called the fire department, and they eventually showed up, but the fire was off and running. It was so bad that it blackened out the sun. It looked like we were on Mars. The sun was red. And that was a big fire that shut down the highway between Kihei and Kahului. And then there's been fires ever since. And the former Mayor Victorino is on record saying that we have arsonists, we will find them. So there's been an arson problem and a dry tinder problem across the island for many years. So unfortunately, what really caused the problem in Lahaina was hurricane winds, 90-mile-an-hour winds from Hurricane Dora that passed to the south. And there was no clouds or rain associated with that, just hurricane type winds. They took down power lines all over, and a lot of transformers went into the streets. There's reports that a gas station exploded when a transformer fell into the gas station, and the fire just really started to rage. Unfortunately, local government failure may be involved. The warning sirens did not go off. We have warning sirens that get tested the first Monday of every month. I hear them every Monday in my town, Kihei, and there you have one in Lahaina. It did not go off. There were no notifications sent out to evacuate, so people were taken by surprise. And I have, personal story reports of people not knowing there was a fire until they smelled smoke, opened their door, and they saw it. So this was, and they also, unfortunately, there's a bypass road above Front Street, which is the old road into Lahaina that was built about 5-6 years ago, that was shut down earlier in the morning due to a fire up there. And so they did not reopen the bypass. So when people tried to evacuate, they were all jammed onto the old Lahaina Front Street Road, which is a 1-lane road, not even a highway. And that was part of the problem as well. Also, there are indications that the fire hydrants didn't work. There was no water pressure, so there was no attempt to put out anything because there was no water. So it was dry tinderbox, problems with the winds took down power lines. Hawaiian Electric, the Wall Street has already taken the stock down 35% today, as there's indications there may have been failures on their end as well. So there's a host of unfortunate events that occurred, but the dry tinder problem is one of them that has been with us on Maui for years.
Yeah, I've been involved in a lot of fire litigation in California, the Woolsey fire and the Paradise fire. And in those cases, we successfully sued the utilities. And, one of the issues is there was a lot of tremendous negligence by the utilities here, but one of the issues was their failure to shut down when there are very high winds, because the wires hit each other and spark in dry tinder areas. And then a lot of the lines, the power lines, when they go down, of course, they create fires. One of the things that was strange about the fire is that it looked like all the boats in the harbor were on fire. Was that just from the wind power?
It's unclear at this point what happened, but there were explosions, and I've been told that fiberglass, when it catches on fire, lights up pretty fast. So that was part of the explanation, but that needs to be investigated because it is strange that a lot of the boats did catch on fire.
And then people jumped, and I've been to Lahaina many times. People were jumping off the wharves and off the bulkheads into the oceans, and in some cases in high surf, and in order to escape the fire. Is that what you've heard or seen as well?
I have a first-hand account report from someone I know who actually had to jump into the harbor. He was next to a family that was vacationing, and he took the child and held the child wrapped around his shoulders for the 4 hours they were treading water until the Coast Guard came. Apparently, the heat got so bad that it it was moving super fast, and the heat was so bad that they had to jump in the water. You could, the heat was killing people almost immediately. It was that bad.
My gosh. Well, we all send our prayers to you, Ed. I'm very grateful that you're okay. How is the rest of Maui? The rest of it is unscathed, right?
Well, so there were high winds in upcountry, which is on the volcano Haleakala. I have firsthand reports of power lines that went down up there, and about 19 homes were lost up there. But that was not as bad as the tragedy in Lahaina. The rest of Maui is fine. In fact, the mainstream media wants to report that the whole island is burning. It doesn't seem to be that's the case at all, because the next day on Wednesday, people were going about their business, going to the work, and things were open. So it was localized to Lahaina, upcountry neighborhoods in Kula, and there was a fire on Tuesday, the same day as the Lahaina and Kula fires in North Kihei. We suspect that was arson because the winds here weren't as bad. So I suspect arson because there's been arson problems in North Kihei